Okay, crystal clear. Excellent. So we have 135 viewers now. Please kindly share the session across your time feed. Okay, you guys obviously know the sharing button. So I am Dr. Thava. Okay, so today we supposed to start at 3 p.m. Sorry that we got slightly delayed. All right, sorry about that. Never expected that. First time doing live. I don't have this experience. So we are currently broadcasting an effective academic writing group. It's a sort of community sharing group that I've created, which is directly linked with Proofreading by UK PhD, our language providing language services firm, and also Academia Hub, which is also owned by Proofreading by UK PhD, purely focusing on consultancy. So there is us. So I hope all of you are. Oh, thanks from South Africa. Thank you for joining us. I hope all of you are probably locked up at home. Hopefully not too bored. Got a lot of things to do. So for those who still have a dissertation to write, proposal to write, please try to understand that hopefully once this Corona or COVID-19 goes away, your thesis and proposal is still going to be there. It's not going to go away. So please continue writing. Please continue developing your thesis. Please continue to keep in touch with your supervisor. All right. Papers, publication, don't lose touch on that. It's very, very important as part of your research portfolio. Very, very, very important. All right. So today we're going to talk about literature review. Okay, literature review, whatever, it's going to be very short sharing. So whatever we are sharing. Thanks, Abu Omar from Jordan. Thanks for joining us from Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Sadiq. So what we're going to do is we're going to look into how to write literature review. Very simple one, very practical class. Practical in the sense that the way I'm going to explain. So the topic today is how to write literature review in the age of Corona. All right. So for those who are viewing, please kindly share the session as much as possible. All right, on your newsfeed so that others can view it as well. So let's go to the next part of it. So today we have a lot of viewers from many different countries. So just my personal advice to Malaysians who are currently under ROM, restriction of movement, please stay indoors. If you're going to go shopping, please shop so that you don't need to frequently go out. We have to really overcome this problem. And for those other friends from other countries, I believe Australia is under national emergency as well. For those in Middle East, some of you are under lockdown and some of you are probably under restriction of movement. If any friends from Italy, please take extra care. My friends from China, please take extra care as well. So today I was talking to a friend from Wuhan. It seems things are really improving there. So I hope it will be the same here very soon. Okay. So now, hi, Amy. Thanks for coming from University of Liverpool. So we're going to cover 4 different topics here. So we're going to talk about what is literature review. A lot of people know that they need to do literature review. A lot of people know. But they don't know why. Some of them, they don't know why they actually need to do it. Okay. The actual purpose of doing it. Then you have another most important thing of literature review is how you're going to choose your materials. What are going to be your source? All right. Then part of it, how you're going to search for good materials and how you're going to assess those literature. So it's going to be very brief. Okay. So whatever question you have, you can post it here. But please remember, I'll post these videos later. You can this video later, so you can ask your question then as well. Okay. But please do ask. Don't worry about that. Okay. So okay, this is me. Before we go into the technical details, I have to introduce myself for those who don't know me personally or have never spoke before. Since I'm going to advise you guys on academic, you have to know my credibility as well. Okay, so I'm Dr. Thava Maran. You can call me Thava. Okay, I have a PhD from University of Northumbria, Newcastle. I completed mine in 2 years and 11 months without having a master's. That was not easy. That was a lot of pain. Okay, a lot of pain. Thereafter, I did my postdoc in Birmingham, AIPT, and I was a manager in TMRD for about 5 years now. Last year I quit. I became full-time chief editor now. So these are some of my profiles. I have over 50 publications, a couple of US patents, standards, and grants I've collected along my research life so far. All right. So this is my background. Thank you for staying with us. So this is who we are, Proofreading by UK PhD Academia Hub. So these are some of our finest achievements in Q1 publications. We are going as far as 9.122 impact factor, some of our clients. We have served over 10,600 clients, and these are our entire profile. All right, so I don't want to waste a lot of time here. Okay, this is important for me to share. This is also required by the university for the university to share as well. So we are official proofreader and translator for a number of faculties from these universities. So if you're from UKM, UPM, UCIM especially, if you're from UMK, you're going to publish in JEB, we are the official editors. If you're in medical area, we have another journal that's coming in Scopus level soon. We are also working with Unimas on Journal of Civil Engineering. We are working closely with Mardi, also GSB, work on special projects and so on. So if you are from the institutions, please get in touch with us. We have special promotion for this if you're from specific faculties, all right? Okay, so let's go into what is basically literature review. Okay, so don't worry about all this wording. This is for you to read at home. Okay, I'm going to share the same material in Facebook later. Okay, so before we go into all the nitty-gritty details, another final call. Please share the session. Let more viewers to come in and watch it. All right, so we are going to talk about literature review, which is basically a summary of what existing scholars or scholarships or knows about a particular topic. Okay, so it's always based on secondary sources. So that means it could be journal, it could be books, it could be conference papers, okay, and so on. So your job is to review and critically provide your feedback on all those existing literature. Why that is important? Because only from then you can create your research gaps. Okay, that means your topic. The essential part of doing literature review is that you don't reinvent the wheel. Okay, that's your most important part here. Reinventing the wheel will only get you into more trouble. Okay, so that is why literature is very important. And this is a rule of thumb. If you're going to do a critical review, I mean a literature review, please follow the 5 years rule. Okay, unless you are talking about the finding theory, some of the papers that they're showing for the finding conceptual frameworks, the finding mathematical derivations or social theories and so on. So in that case, the literature can be old. However, if the literature review is about recent work, it's about creating your problem statement or gap on how on the basement that you're going to build your work upon, then the 5 years rule matters. Okay. However, it's also important to mention that I sometimes go as low as 2 years, 3 years, even 1 year, especially if I'm going to write high impact papers. Okay, especially if it's surrounding my problem statement, I will make sure that it's as new as possible. Okay, but 5 years is good enough. If you can find newer, it's even better. All right, so please always adhere to this requirement. Okay, and also the next part is a literature review should only focus on the relevant academic literature. Okay, you may take popular or non-popular academic sources because sometimes you have to take statistics, industrial findings, white papers. White papers you can go to McKinsey, you can go to Accenture, you can go to World Health Organization, United Nations. All these guys, all these folks will have white papers. So those are not academic literature. Those are more industrial literature or maybe real world happenings, white papers we call it. Okay, so those you can take. Okay, then and then you also have central interest always on the data collected or the theories put together by recognized experts in the field. Okay, so that is what your main intention is. What is their finding? How good is their theory that they have contributed? Frameworks, discussion, all those things. Their findings basically. All right, because you are going to tell, not literally, figuratively, and sometimes also literally, they're going to tell the findings is not enough. You have to go beyond that. Okay, so that's why you're doing literature review. Okay, next thing is literature will also try to look at as much as of the existing literature as possible. Yes. Okay, so I've also spoke to students as part of Academia Hub. Sometimes, most of the time, we do consultancy face to face or Skype. I've seen people who have done the entire literature review chapter with just 20 papers. I'm not saying it's not sufficient, but that are highly likely can be insufficient. You may use systematic literature review where you eliminate the papers, but that is the elimination process. But what I'm talking about is don't just make your total papers only 30 or 20 or 10. You need more than that because sometimes you might miss out easily. And during Viva or during your review process, if you're writing a paper, if the author is from if the reviewer or examiner is from the similar field, that is where you will get a lot of problem. Okay, they will know that you have not done enough literature survey. Okay, so please don't limit the scope. Please don't limit the papers. Get as much as possible. Okay, relevant to your topic. Okay, I'm not asking you to read everything. Please don't read all. You won't. I mean, 3 years won't be enough for you to finish. All right. Our scope is, our motivation is to finish within 3 years. Okay, if you're doing a PhD, or to publish in as high impact as possible publication papers. All right. So in that case, your literature review must be very strong. Okay. So that's what this slide is covering about. Okay. So next part is preparing literature review. Okay, what it involves. Okay, it involves, very importantly, reliable, accurate, and up-to-date materials. This is what I've shared earlier. Okay. Sorry, just a small question here. White papers. Yes, government published documents, reports, statistics, presentation. Yes, those are all known as white paper. For in my case, during my PhD, I used papers from Accenture, Ericsson, World Health Organization, United Nations. Those are all white papers. Those are all industrial white papers that you can use because those are based on real life stories, real life happening. Okay, it's not sales document. It's actual statistics, actual news. Okay, so yeah, you can use that. All right. So as part of preparing literature review, okay, it involves definitely searching, reliable, accurate. When we say reliable, how do we define reliability? Okay, in this case, in searching literature, of course, if you follow systematic literature review, it's very good. If you have never done before, you can always attend Dr. Hero's class. He's very good at it. He's one of my very good friends as well. So you can try to attend that. Very good way of searching literature. So literature review has actually a few different types actually. The most straightforward one is narrative review. Okay, so it's basically building story, and they call that narrative review. Then you have something called chronological review. So chronological review will be defined as the oldest age, I mean the oldest source, right down to the latest source. So it's chronological. Then you have something called thematic review. Okay, from thematic review you have systematic literature review. You have scoping review as well. Okay, so all these things are type of literature review. The end goal is the same, just that the methodology is different. All right. All right. So is the line clear now? MEFND? Okay, better now. All right. Thank you. So guys, please share as much as possible. Kindly. Yeah, narrative review. Narrative review is what we normally do in Chapter 2 literature review or any other paper. All right. So next is you have to do reading and summarizing the key points from literature. Okay. That is what you do as part of literature. How to do it? I would advise you to build a literature matrix. Okay. What is a literature matrix? Okay. Recently we shared on, let me just quickly go to okay, so if you go to our group, for some of you have not joined us yet, please kindly join us, free of charge. We give you free knowledge, so feel free to come with us. Okay, so literature review, what do? I think majority of you know what to do, but for those who don't know yet, so this is our group, Effective Academic Writing on Facebook. We have about 24,000 members now. Okay, it's linked to our page as well. So let me search our recent tutorial. So here, so if you look at this, Slight delay on your side. Okay, so I'm just holding up for a while. Okay, so here, as part of the group, you can see our recent tutorial on literature matrix. Okay, we published last year. All right. So as part of the slides here, as what we have noted here, reading and summarizing the key points from literature. So here is an example of what you can do. Right. Okay, thank you, Ms. Dachaini. So I'll just open this and leave it for now because there's some slight delay. Yeah, please tag your friends, whoever wants to join the session. We have about 200 viewers live now, which is not too bad. So if there's more that you can invite, please do invite. Please do share on your news feed. Okay, so that is the literature matrix. So you have your author, your year, title, aims, method, sample, conclusion, comments. Comments is basically a critical review. This part here is basically a critical review. Okay, so when you do, whether you build a paper, whether you build a thesis, a proposal, doesn't matter you're from which field. You can be social science, you can be from engineering, you can be from medical, chemical engineering, pure geography, business. This is a very good method to build literature review matrix. All right. The columns here depends on your individual area, your individual requirement. Certain supervisors or certain co-authors might have different requirements, so you have to align accordingly. But this is just a general idea of what you should have. All right. So that's that. So here we have very frequent tutorials on various different areas. Today we're talking about literature review. So here we have our portfolio. So this is what we advertised yesterday, and then so we also have some tutorial on methodology, some fun. One of our clients' recent book, How to Write Best Conclusion Chapter for Dissertation. If some of you would have missed this out, please kindly look at this. This is a very good tutorial on how to write conclusion. Okay, not going off the track, but just sharing what is in our group that can benefit you guys. Okay, while you are at home for this, at least another 10 more days or 9 more days, there are many things here that you can read. Okay, not only here, for tutorial, we also share on our page all the time. So this is our page. We have about 22,000 followers now. Okay, we have about 22,000 followers now. So here you will get direct tutorials as well. So this is our recent workshop that is coming next month, which we're not sure yet, depending on situation in Malaysia. So methodology, recent tutorial, and here is a top list of academic research databases that you can actually will be very beneficial for you. This is very good, comprehensive chapter 1 template. I'll probably talk about this in the coming days. All right, and some on how to write the article review. Okay, so just giving you an example. Let's go back to our scope. All right, so I've already shown you how literature matrix is being done. Okay, it's a very straightforward thing. The most important part is the commenting part, where how you're going to share your critical review. That's the key item, the key part. Okay, so make sure that it's crystal clear how effective you're going to critically review. But keep in mind how critical you are. It's okay to be critical, but please be professional. Please don't start scolding the other guy. There's no point in that. Okay, just a bit of fun. Okay, just be extremely professional. But you have to criticize. If you're not going to criticize, it's very hard to create that gap that is showing. You have to contrast, not only criticize. You have to contrast. If you can contrast between literature, saying that you have different findings, okay, like let's say author A said that the globe is square, and then author B said that the globe is actually round, and author C said it's probably triangle. So you can contrast all these three and create a gap. Okay, that is another way to go as well. We call that contrasting. Okay, so once you finish that, once you're in matrix, then you can start synthesizing key ideas, theories, and concepts into a summary. Okay, this is the matrix, and you can discuss and evaluate these ideas based on theories and concept, depending on your contribution. Some people might be some scholars might be contributing towards theories. Okay, some might be towards conceptual framework, some might be contributing a new mathematical model, some might be contributing new experimental work. So it depends upon your requirement. You have to align and adjust the literature review accordingly. Okay. Thereafter, the next part is identifying particular areas of debate. Okay. So one thing you have to understand: every literature will have its own scope. Okay, you have to read those papers. You have to find out what is relevant to your area. You cannot take the whole chunk. One paper might be talking about 6 or 7 different objectives. You may be only able to plug in one from there. Plug out one that is relevant to you, and you start reviewing based on that. Okay, so therefore reading papers are important. Very, very important. It's the key item. In my PhD, I read close to about 1,200 papers in 2.5 years. Yeah, I read a lot because which is why I could write a lot of papers. I wrote about 12 papers in my PhD. 7 of it are Q1 journals. Okay. The only reason I could do that is because I read a lot. By reading, I actually synthesized and produced and created a lot of new ideas. Okay. Without doing that, that would be really, really tough for you to have an idea. Okay. Once you have read, you have already identified particular areas of debate or controversy, then only it will be easy for you to create that gap. Okay. Unless you have read enough, unless you have created the literature matrix to help you create that pathway, it will be very hard for you to actually have an idea. All right. Once you have done that, only then you prepare the ground for the application of these new ideas to your research. Okay. Thank you, MAFND. Thank you so much. All right. Oh, Henry Nicholas is here as well. Hi, Henry. Are you back from Exeter already? Thank you for joining us today. Okay, next part would be choosing materials. Okay, the slides are rather less, but I'm giving you more of my personal experience. One article, which part you skip while reading? Okay, so when you read article, the most important part, Ali Ahmad, very good question. The important part for you to not skip, okay, skipping is something else. Not to skip is your abstract and conclusion. From your abstract and conclusion, when you read a paper, you're supposed to know whether this paper is relevant for you or not. Okay, when I say that I read 1,200 papers, honestly, I did not go line by line. Okay, obviously that is not practical, but most of the time I'll look at the abstract, I'll look at the conclusion, I'll look at the results. Okay, the theory, the results part, I'll quickly skip after that. If it's not relevant, I'll just throw it away. Okay, but if you are into writing papers, if your objective is to write more papers, try not to skip, because you get a lot of new ideas from that. But if you're building literature review for your thesis, for your proposal, then you have to glance through very fast. Okay, thank you, Ms. Sugna, no problem. So remember, abstract you cannot miss, conclusion you cannot miss. Most of the papers, result you shouldn't miss as well. Okay, because introduction literature, everything else is just massaging the whole idea of the paper. But what is important is the density inside the results, the abstract, and that conclusion. Okay, comments then build the gap. Miss Aida, not so clear. Can you repeat that again, please? All right. So to all those that are still with us, please kindly share, tag the names that people might want to join us. Please don't forget to do that. Thank you. So okay, what is a specific question, topic, or focus on paper? So what you need to ask before you choose materials, ask yourself all these questions. Okay, before you go on and start reading. Okay, it's better to plan earlier so you know what exactly you need to read. So these are your planners. Okay. No problem, Miss Nisa. Anytime. No worries. Thank you. Okay. So number one, what is the specific question, topic, or focus for my thesis paper? So this one you need to know. You can't do this unless you know the topic or focus of your thesis or paper. Okay, just a quick one. Ms. Suguna, what about comprehensive review? Yes. So I shared about reading a paper. If you still very early into your idea, you have no clue yet, please read a lot of review papers. Systematic literature review, comprehensive review, scoping review, general narrative review, concept papers, if you're in medical, protocol papers, all these things, this will give you general ideas on where the gaps are. Okay, generally, that will definitely speed up everything. Yes. So determine relevancy, abstract and conclusion will tell you that, Miss Aida. You're right. Okay. So after you have choose your topic focus, which you definitely need to know. If you don't know this, then no one in the world can help you. Okay, to be honest to you. Okay, I've heard a lot of queries before. I've heard people, WhatsApp me, clients, students, who are struggling. They say, I actually don't have a clue where to start, where to, look into, and so on. Start with a review paper. It's a good place to start. Once you synthesize, you have an idea of a title that you think you can focus upon, then you know what to do. Okay, but without a proper title, it will be very hard for you. Okay, next part. What kind of material do I need? Theory, methodology, policy, or empirical data? All these items, it depends upon what is your topic. What are you focusing? Are you focusing into creating new theory or new methodology? Are you into new policy, or are you into new empirical paper or empirical thesis? It depends upon that how you have to collect your materials. Okay, MEFND. My thesis using phenomenological within case study methodology, and I'm looking at the impact of digitalization in music industry since, that's long. Okay, that's 20 years. Can I have literature taken from journal or articles? Yes, you can, because your study is spanning about 20 years. So definitely you should. So it depends on the study as well. Okay. Yes, Miss Aida. Strong justification is always important. All right. Okay. So next part. What type of literature is available? Okay. My personal advice is stick to journal and books, government documents definitely, especially in your introduction part. But it shouldn't be your core of. Not shouldn't be. Try not to be your core part of your problem statement. Okay, or your literature. Government documents, white papers, which I explained earlier, it's usually good for opening up the problem. It shouldn't be your core problem. Okay, like statistically speaking, 100 or 1,000 people already, 900 people already have coronavirus in Malaysia. Those are government news. Okay, but what is the problem within that? You still have to go back to peer-reviewed journals or books. Okay, but I would advise you, whether books or journal always have education. Why? Because journals are peer-reviewed. Books are not so peer-reviewed. Journals are definitely peer-reviewed. Okay. Okay, thank you, Emmy. No problem. Anytime. Okay. Has my search been wide enough to ensure? Yeah, this is very important. Where do you search? You can search in Google Scholar. You can search in Web of Science. You can search in Scopus, Simago. You can search in PubMed. Okay, all these places where you can search for papers. My personal favorite is always Google Scholar. Okay, but the problem with Google Scholar is it will give you everything from ISI journal to Scopus journal to non-peer reviewed journal to scam journals to predatory journals. It will give you everything. Okay, so you need to know what journals you're looking into. You need to know what kind of topic you're looking into. Not topic, journal publishing houses. So don't worry. The next slide will talk about publishing houses. So if you're into using Google Scholar, then that is the best way to go. All right. So has my search been wide enough to ensure I've identified all the relevant materials? This, as I said, you have to explore all the database searches, then only you will know. And also, on the other hand, has the search been narrow enough? Yes. Narrow enough in the sense that are you searching specifically for your own problem, or are you still very broad that you're wasting time reading a lot of things that are not relevant to your problem? Okay, so you need to know that. It has to be wide in terms of database, but topic-wise, it must be narrow. So you don't read a lot of unnecessary items unless you're looking for ideas to write new papers. Okay. Okay, so we have broad, we have narrow. So is there a good enough example of literature for the level of PhD or my dissertation or thesis? Yes. My advice when we give one-to-one consultation or content consultation for our clients, okay, or even proofreading and so on, we'll always tell them the first thing if you're starting your proposal or thesis, if you're still writing your thesis, if you're writing, you always have very good sample that you can follow. Okay, that's very, very, very crucial. Right? Must have a sample. Sample from where? If you're from Malaysia, try to get samples from Malaysia. Okay, because every country, every university have different ways of writing their thesis. For example, German could compile most of their papers. Have chapter 1, they compile their papers, and then they have conclusion chapter, they'll finish their thesis. So they go most on publication. US might have a different structure. UK will have a different structure. Malaysia structure is usually 5 chapters. Okay, so if you're doing PhD in Malaysia, I would strongly advise you to focus on getting sample from Malaysian universities, or even better, from your supervisor. Okay. Okay, so you have a question from Mr. Shamshu. Is it necessary to include some part of my result in a reviewed paper? Is it necessary to include some part of my results in a reviewed paper? That means what you're asking is, can I include results in a review paper? If that's the case, it's up to you. Some people do meta-analysis as part of review paper. So they have some results from meta-analysis. Some people don't. They only talk purely on review only. Okay, so it depends upon you. Okay? There's no one saying no, but then if you're going to put a lot of results, it won't be review paper anymore. It will be a normal full-scale paper. Alright? Okay, on the other hand, has the search been okay? We are done here. So we are here now. Have I considered as many alternative points of view as possible? Okay, this one you'll only be able to consider once you have searched wide enough. Okay. Will the reader find my literature review relevant, appropriate, and useful? This is a question you need to always ask. And how to know? You have to go back to your title. The title is sort of your guidance where your literature is going to go. All right. So, any questions so far before we proceed? So, how many of you are still in thesis stage, proposal stage, or you are here because you're still writing a paper? Okay, so please share, please comment. Are you guys writing a thesis or proposal? So let's wait for some comments. Welcome, Miss Saidatun, Miss Noor Aiza, Miss Noor Azlina, Mr. Mugunda Rao, Miss Lina Ibrahim. Thanks for joining us. Before we move to the next slide, the question is, do we have any, most of our folks today are writing, okay, Mr. Aswadi is writing proposal, Mr. Marzani is writing thesis, some supervisor advised not to, but in chapter 2, you only discuss out others said, is this rough? Mr. Abu Omar, I don't get a question. Can you rephrase it, please? So we have a lot of proposal. Miss Sarina all the way to Miss Idayu. Okay, FND, ME FND, thank you very much. Proposal. Okay, so we have a lot of proposal guys here, ladies and gentlemen. All right, meta-analysis needs statistical result. Yes, correct. You can do reviewable meta-analysis. You can. Okay, writing chapter 2, thesis. Okay, that's good. Good crowd. Okay, so this part is clear. Writing paper Q1, Q2. All the best. Love to hear that. Finalizing thesis, revisit LR. Okay, thesis stage, also writing paper. Okay. Okay, whatever we're sharing today will be very useful for you. Okay, this slide is very, very important. Okay, so this is what I've synthesized from my personal research on journals that you should look for, because a lot of people have trouble finding for journals on literature review and also where to publish sometimes. Okay, but most likely is where to find this research from. I mean, like existing papers. Okay, so some of the to focus when you're going to do literature review. This is a list that I've compiled so far. Okay, which is very good. These are not journals. Okay, please don't confuse yourself. These are not journals. These are publishing houses. Okay, so we have Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, MDPI, Sage, Wiley, IEEE, PLOS, Nature, Emerald. Then we have Okay, just one question. Ikwan, Mr. Ikwan, Dr. Ikwan. Sometimes I confuse when to discuss in chapter 1 problem statement and chapter 2. Can you rephrase the question, please, Ikwan, if you don't mind? Okay. So in this slide, if you're going to do literature review, my personal advice is always try to stick to, if possible, to only ISI journals, if you can, because you know why. To avoid any predatory journals. Okay, predatory journals is a very big problem nowadays. Okay, it's spreading faster than coronavirus. Okay, which is very scary. All right, so be careful of this. What is predatory journal? Some of you don't know. Yes, Miss Anissa, Anissa Mohammed. Yes, definitely. I'll share. I'll share. No problem. Um, okay. Don't cite predatory journals. It will crumble your idea. Okay. The issue here is if you go to all these publishing houses, these are very good, very well known. Usually, their peer review process is good. Okay, and very well known. All right. And why don't cite predatory journals? Because it will jeopardize the legitimacy of your review. Once they look at reference list, the examiner, your proposal defense board, or your journal reviewers, once they look at the reference list, they will know whether it's legit or not. Okay. Mr. Abu Omar, your question, is it okay to say our opinion in chapter 2 or must discuss others? You must discuss other opinions, you must discuss other literature, and you definitely need to give your own opinion. Without your own opinion, there won't be your own thesis. Okay? You need to have your own opinion because it's your thesis. Alright? What others say is important, but what you are saying as part of research is the most crucial part. Right? So, for those who are looking for journal, please stick to these publishing houses. You still have ACS from chemical, you still have Ministry of Mechanical if you're from mechanical, and many more. You know, all these publishing houses. What is predatory journals? Okay, very good question. Predatory journals is basically scam journals. Okay, similar to any other things in life, there is original products, and there's scam products. Okay, unfortunately, journals we have the same problem as well. How about cited non-indexed journal? Okay, if you can, please avoid it. Okay, please avoid as much as possible. Abdul Wadud, yes, I'll share in the group later, don't worry. Mr. Aswadi, yes, if you can, please avoid. If you can't, no choice, because maybe your research is very much related to a local context, nation context, so it could be non-peer reviewed journal, then yes, you have no choice but to cite those. Okay, Miss Aida, why what? Can you please explain? Okay, so all right. So any other questions? This part. So these are the journals that you can look into. Okay, Miss Dr. Ikwan, in simple word, what are differences in terms of way to write between problem statement and LR? Okay, problem statement is something that comes after background. Okay, and LR, okay, problem statement is where you use, it's also literature, definitely, but literature from finding, like you're finding a very small fish, okay, a very small, one tiny fish among billions of fishes. That's your problem statement. Okay, literature review. Then in your chapter 2, once you go, you already know it's a problem, you already propose a solution. Then as part of the fish, you are going to defend that this is the fish one. Okay, that's the review chapter. You're going to defend that no one else has actually found this fish, but I have found it, and this is everything about the fish. The theory about the fish, the framework about the fish, and so on and so forth. Okay? How to recognize predatory journals, Miss Suguna? You go to Bill's list, BEALL''S''LIST, Bill's list. Okay. Example of non-indexed journal, Miss Hanisa. You have to check a journal in Simago, Scopus Simago, or WOS database, which is under Clarivate. If you check in both, if it's not there, then it's most likely non-indexed journal. But there are other indexing as well. There is PubMed, there is ABDC, I think, Australian accounting something. Okay, and so on. All right. Okay, thanks, Dr. Ikwan. No problem. Okay. Is there any website, Mr. Kaviraja? Yes, Bills List. No, there are several Bills List websites. Some are updated. You have to check. There are several more. All right. Why could not include? Because of the legitimacy. Okay, because non-index paper usually don't comply with not usually may not comply with peer review process, international reviewing board, language requirement. There are several requirements. Okay, which chapter need to write first, chapter 1 or 2? Depends upon you. If you have a title already, you can start with chapter 1. If you have no clue, then if you have no clue in terms of title and so on, then chapter 2 is you can start as well. Okay, thank you, Miss Haida. Okay, Emmy. Let's academic writing, writing materials. Yeah, so in that case, then you have to live with what you have. Okay, all right. So next part. Okay, so this is a bit about us. Some of our clients who came to us when they had literary problems. So this is our part where we have edited not only the paper but a lot of literature review part. And this is Miss Ida from Sweden. Okay, just sharing their recent experience with us. All right. Okay, when you're searching good materials, okay, um, make sure that all the literature you review is as up to date as possible. Okay, this is what I've explained earlier. Keep it within less than 5 years. Okay, that's very important there. Okay. However, the sole exception would be classic texts such as major works written by leading scholars. Okay, that means your theoretical paper and so on and so forth. Okay, so that one can be very old, so that's okay. All right. A good literature will have a good range of material setting as many different perspectives. Like I said, if you are very broad, focusing on an area, you can get many different angles. So that's what we are explaining here. Okay. Another approach when you're searching, okay, searching for materials. Okay, no problem, Amy. Thank you. When you're searching for materials, you have to try a range of different words. Okay, different keywords to get material. Example, if you're looking something on resource-based view, okay, when you go look for papers, don't just type resource-based view because you'll likely get several thousand results. Okay, lots of results. However, if you go and be very specific, example, you're doing a research on resource-based view, a theory, focusing on SMEs, then maybe you can search resource-based view and SME. This way, your search will be rather narrow and you won't be actually looking at papers that is not related to you. Okay, so be careful when you search how you're going to search. All right. Next point, ideally you should narrow the field down so you get just a few dozen results. Skim through this quickly to identify texts which are most likely to be helpful. Okay. Next part, skim through the books and articles identified as potentially relevant. Most details will be in abstract, like I said, abstract. Otherwise, conclusion is good too. So from abstract and conclusion, you will know most likely what papers to choose, whether this paper is relevant or not in the first place. Okay? Okay, so these are several steps you need to take to assess the literature. Okay, we are almost towards the end already. So the key point discussed by the author, is this clearly defined when you're going to assess the literature? What evidence is the author produced to support the central idea, especially in the methodology part? When you look at the paper, focus on the methodology part. Is it valid or not? Whatever results they are presenting. Okay? And how convincing are the reasons given from the author's point of view? Okay? Number 4, could the evidence be interpreted in other ways? When you look at certain results and discussion, don't follow what exactly the authors are saying. That's where you should get curious and look at it from different angle, different point of view. Okay, and what is the author's research method? Very important because depending on the research that they're doing. Okay, so here probably most of you are in quantitative, could be qualitative as well. Okay, so you may share. Let's see, most of our crowd are in quantitative, qualitative. Then we can have a better viewpoint. All right. Let's wait for some response. Thank you, Fido Sadipi, for joining us. Long time no see. Thank you, Dave Mohan, for joining us. How true results are valid or not? you have to look at methodology. Definitely, how is the data collection mostly done? That's pretty important. You have to look at that. And then you can only know a result is precise or not if you have the same data set, and you have to run the whole quantitative. Then only whether it's precise or not. So you have a question here. Just a question. Is a theoretical from Mr. Ibrahim Saleh, is a theoretical framework supposed to be a picture or collection text referencing the study's research paper? A theoretical framework supposed to be a basement for your entire research before you start formulating variables for your conceptual framework. That's how I can answer you directly. All right. Dr. Rayed, Dr. Thava, where and how describe the article novelty? Okay, article novelty has to be described as part of a problem statement, okay, and with a proposed solution. If it's an article, there usually will be a contribution segment as part of introduction towards the end. Okay, as part of introduction, you must have a contribution section. Okay, so now coming back to this, after method, you must look at what is author's theoretical framework, psychological, developmental, feminist, based on that. When you assess, and what is the relationship assumed by the author between theory and practice? Has the author critically evaluated the other literature in the field? Very, very important, this one, especially if it's a review paper. Okay. Does the author include literature opposing his point of view? Can you deconstruct the argument, identify the gaps? This is important. If you deconstruct the argument, can you get the gaps or not? From this, can you build a gap or not? That's something that you really need to synthesize. Okay. What are the strengths and limitations? This limitation is essential gaps for you of every paper. Okay, we have another question. Can we some sort of writing a comparative discussion in our arguments in literature review chapter? Right, a comparative discussion in our arguments in literature. Yeah, that will be part of your critical review, I believe. Is that right? Okay. So, so always focus on limitation. Very important. And number 12, what does this book or article contribute to my own topic or thesis? Yeah. So you need to know that. Without knowing this, it will be very hard for you to relate the literature back to your thesis or proposal or paper. All right. So let me just wait for more questions so I can answer very quickly. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Yogiswari. Can you brief a bit differences between theoretical and conceptual framework? Okay, we have a post on that actually. So please stay tuned. Let me just show you that. Much easier for you. Let me show very quickly, yeah. Going back to my group, so here, there is one post here. One more here. So conceptual framework versus theoretical framework. Miss Hanisa, you can look at this post in my group, which I've given very good example. And also this. Alright, another example. Okay. So, yes, Emmy, thank you. Welcome, Miss Hamiza. Okay. We are towards the end. Okay. Okay, so we have already completed how to assess literature. All right. Next part would be literature. Mostly, you'll be adopting what you call the information from other papers. Okay, other people's critical review and so on and so forth. Okay, let me answer a quick question from Miss Noor Asna. Hi Tawa. Hi Dr. Tawa. May I know at what point does a theoretical framework come into literature review? Are they supposed to be different independent topics in research? A theoretical framework should come probably right after your background or introduction of your chapter 2. Okay, that means you talk about a topic and so on, and then you have to bring in your theoretical part before you can propose out the entire solution, before even you can do your full literature review. Okay, that is the general way of doing it. Okay, some people might have different style, but this is usually how I advise people. Dr. Ikwan, theory and framework should be in chapter 2. How to discuss it, then relate to our research. Actually, Dr. Ikwan, it differs. Some people put it in chapter 1, some people put it in chapter 3, but generally it's in chapter 2. Okay, there's no wrong. It depends supervisor, depends on topic, depends on which subject area you're from. All right. Thanks, Visha. Pleasure is all mine. Dr. Haidzat, in medical studies, number of references may be a bit limited. Hence, we need to cite papers that are available, although not within 5 years, right? Depends. Depends. Actually, medical studies is one of the most highly investigated area with a lot of research papers. So you have to be more specific there. All right. Mr. John Matt, what are the topics of literature depend on? I mean, how divided literature into subsections? Topic literature depend on, I mean, how divided literature into subsections. John Matt, this is entirely depends on your area. There's no a direct answer to this. Okay, so probably you can approach me. We can look into your topic. Okay, and probably we can address it later. Sahiba Sarwar, oh, it will be with development. Please repost your question. Thank you. I'm not so clear. Swarizal, how are you, my friend? Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Miss Hanisa, thank you. Miss Mimi, my time frame of thesis is from 1999 to 2003. Is it a must to find articles? Depends on your study. If it's about the whole range of area, then you have to include all that. All right. Miss Hasliya, thank you. Pleasure is all mine. Miss Nurul, how to ensure literature content is enough? There's no enough here. As long as you have enough papers to justify your problem statement, your solution, if you're sure you have exhausted all the literature out there, then yes. Mr. Amran, okay, sorry, you just joined. We're almost finishing, so you can probably watch it in my group later, all right? ZP Lee, hi brother. How will editor find out most similarity percentage is from my previous paper? Do we consider? Yes, it's plagiarism. Self-plagiarism is still a plagiarism. Okay. Hi Atira, welcome. Dilakshan, Yasir, Daljit, welcome. No problem, John Matt. Okay. So coming back, is it okay to paraphrase? Paraphrasing is a very big, it's a kind of bad word in academic world, which I agree upon. I also disagree to a certain point. Because most of my thesis my thesis was wholly constructed from my own publications. 12 of my papers became my thesis. Okay, the only way that I could produce my thesis back in about 1 month and 1 week or 1 month and 2 weeks, I completed my thesis in less than 2 months. 1 month, 1 week or so, I completed my thesis. Okay, I completed my thesis. So the only way I could make that possible is because of paraphrasing. Okay? Paraphrasing is the only way. Self-plagiarism, of course. Please don't paraphrase your results. That's wrong. But literature part, you may paraphrase if it's the same idea. Okay? If it's someone else's opinion altogether, you're going to adopt it. It's going to give you the same ideas. Yes, you can paraphrase, but you must have your individual critical review as well. So it's a very gray area whether paraphrasing is good or bad. Okay, don't go and copy everything. That's wrong. But copy your own work is okay. If you're going to copy some other's literature review, I mean their opinion, and you're going to rewrite it, make sure you have your own way of writing it. I mean, you must have your own voice in it. Without having your own voice, that's wrong. Okay, all right. So this is one of our example on how we paraphrase. Okay, we have paraphrased from 98% because Turnitin is a pain. If you don't know how to use it, if you mistakenly store your document in a repository, then you will get 98%, 97% plagiarism. And if you don't have Turnitin admin to help you, or you don't know them, or it's probably another university you moved, or there's no way for you to remove it, then you have to paraphrase it. Okay, so we have done from 97, 98% right down to 5% before. It's not easy. Okay, so when you paraphrase, make sure you don't go out of context. Okay. So paraphrasing is an essential tool to develop literature review, but that should not be the way to go. I mean, that should not be wholly the way to go. Okay, you must have your own voice. All right, Dr. Daljit, welcome. Sequence subchapters in literature review. I believe it should start from the theoretical. From your theoretical, you should build your literature. From there, you must connect back to your framework. Okay, and that framework framework, all the sub-variables being defined in literature. Then only it goes to your research gap and your solution. All right. Mr. Brother Ahmed from Palestine. How are you, brother? Welcome. Mr. John in USM. We have one in Kedah, UUM, 3rd of April. Hopefully it's still on. Okay. Aizura, it's still confused between theoretic and conceptual framework. If you reverse back a bit on of the video, you will be able to see my tutorial on that area. Okay, so let me come back to that, Aizura. Okay, so we are done. This is our final slide. Okay, and with that, we are ending the session. We have completed. So this is part of what we do for content. People who are having problem with content under Academia Hub. Okay, sorry about the logo. It was last minute preparation. So these are some of our consultants: Dr. N, Dr. Waisu, Dr. Lian, myself on proposal thesis. So these are all the areas we cover. If you have any problem, HR, finance, economics, education, electrical engineering, public health, we are very strong in public health. We are very strong in medical area. If you have any problem, you need someone to give you a hand, teach you, guide you, then we are always available. In this locked up, what do you call that, restriction of movement, or locking period, we can do it over Skype. Okay. Yes, Dr. Ikwan, it would be my pleasure. As long as we can move freely soon, then yes. Okay, my daughter just woke up, so everything is going to be noisy after this. Okay, I think it will be the same for you as well. Noor Haizat, Miss Noor Haizat. All right, doctor, based on previous inquiry, first we have to exhaust the search and still cite the articles because some resources can be limited. Yes, correct. Exhaust your search first. Okay, otherwise you are not done yet. Okay. Okay, Dr. Ikwan, hope to see you soon. Thank you, Ms. Lingeswari. Anum, thank you for joining us. Alicia, thank you. How about area accounting? Do you offer consulting? Yes, definitely we do. We do in most areas. Okay. So we have actually added more lists here. And yes, we do that. Thank you, Mr. John May. Thank you, thank you, Mr. Radin. Thank you, Dr. Daljit. Yes, sure, brother. Sure, Daljit. Definitely. Yes, paraphrasing isn't very difficult. It's very tiring and you may go out of context. So take extra care there. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Ms. Nisa. This video will be in our group, Effective Academic Writing. Please come and join us. Okay, so let me just quickly go to, this is where you can find us, Academic Writing. Please come and join us. Thank you, Ms. Nisa. We'll have another session soon. Extension of literature review, probably see you next week. Thank you, Ms. Hana. Thanks, Shamshu. Thank you, Ms. Pavitra. If you have any questions, you can post in the group itself. Okay, so I can answer you. Keep following our group. Please join us. Keep following our page. More resources. Okay, to move forward. Please make use of this time to focus on your write-up. Okay. On produce papers. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Marzani. Looking forward. Thank you, Dr. Ikwan. Thank you. Okay, excellent, Mr. Ibrahim. Happy for you. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Ms. Nurul Ilham. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Atul. Okay, so yes, it will be in our website. Our page, Mr. Abdul. You can always download, no problem. Okay. Yes, it will be in our page. So please come, group and page. Please come and join us. It will be there. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. With this, I'm ending the session. Wish you all the best. If you need proofreading, if you need consulting on, please come and look for us. We are the #1 in Malaysia so far, and we'll do our best for you. Okay. Thank you.